Let's face it, transition is hard. It's especially tough when you first move to a new place. You miss the place you left, the house you lived in, the school you went to, the streets you walked along. Most of all, you miss people. You had friends back there. You were known back there. Here, does anyone really know you? In your old home, you had people who you were comfortable with. They were your safe people. Those relationships didn't get to that level right away. It took time. Now you have to start the process all over again, making friends, building relationships. But it can be scary. What if people don't like me? What if they can't understand where I'm coming from as a TCK? What if they don't even care? Those are some of the questions I had when my family moved to the US when I was 15 years old. I had never lived in the US before. Most of my friends lived in Slovakia. I was leaving a school where I was in a class of 13 students and we were all really close. Now, I was in my first day of school in America, pushing my way through a hallway crowded with 1,000 students, and I didn't know one of them. But they all seemed to know each other. They had been going to school together for years. I was quiet and I felt out of place. And I didn't feel comfortable just pushing my way into the already formed groups of friends who didn't really seem very welcoming. Even worse, when I did try to talk to people, I didn't really enjoy it. I was so surprised that no one cared about my life outside the US. I started to think that maybe it wasn't worth it to try to make friends. After all, my parents had said they were only going to live in the US for a year. I thought, okay, I don't even need to try with these people. I'll just keep my head down, do my schoolwork, and in a year I'll go back to Europe where I really belong. You might be in a similar situation. Maybe your family is just moving somewhere for a while on stint or a sabbatical, and you know you'll be moving on. If that is the case, don't do what I did. No matter how long or how short your stay, it's worth getting to know people and making friends. We really don't know how long we'll end up staying in a place. I thought my family would be going back to Europe in a year. 9 years later, my family is still living in the same house in the same city. You never really know what God has planned. Still, for a while, I thought I could make it without friends. I'd sit alone at lunch. I wouldn't talk to many people. The truth is, I was lonely. One day I saw a guy who I kind of sort of knew from one class. I decided I had enough. I was going to make some friends. I got up, I walked over, and I sat down with this kid and his friends. At first, it was a little awkward, but after a while, I got to know them, and I discovered an amazing thing. Here I was in a lunchroom in a public school in Nebraska, and one of the kids sitting across from me was an MK. His family had been missionaries in Asia. God had led me to someone who could understand my experience. If I was able to stumble upon another MK in Nebraska, you can bet that wherever you are, God can lead you to people who have lived in another culture, have gone through transition, and can understand what you're going through. Also, don't think that you have to look for a TCK to find a friend. I have some great friends who have never left the US, yet they are people who I've learned a lot from and whose friendship has been a blessing to me. You need community in the place where you live. God made you that way. Usually, it means you have to be intentional in finding those friendships. You have to take a step, sit down, and enjoy those new friendships.